Hello everyone. Before we start today's video, if you could all do me a solid and lightly tap the like button, perhaps share the video about and leave a comment. If you are not subscribed, subscribe as well. It would greatly help this channel. Thank you very much. Well, isn't this just fantastic? Captain's log. Subdates 221102.6. It's going to take the better part of a week to get the ship up to, well, the standard that is remotely acceptable for the Merry Meggy month of Moistmas. And as Subfleet have been trying to contact me because they need aid, I've decided to give them the answer machine that is currently up Bork's rectum. Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be discussing an individual in Norway. Somebody who is pushing boundaries, trailblazing like there's no tomorrow, and testing one's patience limit. Yesterday we spoke about those who work within healthcare and a level of professionalism. Today we are going to be talking about somebody who is taking advantage of the healthcare system, or taking advantage of an aspect of it, or an aspect of an individual who may have something that they do not have because they want, or they think they have, an identity crisis. Now we've had this in the past. There was the female who thought that she was meant to be blind, so she had a psychologist pour Drano into her eyes, because it's what she always meant to be. There are other instances where people have disabled themselves. In doing so, they've done it in such a way that it felt right to them. By all means, roll your eyes at any relevant moment. My view on this is simple. If something makes you feel compelled to do something to yourself that is inherently negative, i.e. self-harm to such a degree, you need to seek out medical guidance. Psychiatrists will become your best friends in the whole wide world. Perhaps go to support groups as well. Whatever it is that is compelling you to think you are something you're not as well, that could lead you to harm yourself. These are dangerous areas to tread. So with this in mind, we introduce somebody who is able-bodied called JVA. I'm not even going to pretend to pronounce your first name because I'm not Norwegian and I don't care enough about pronunciation, but I care enough not to try. Who identifies as a woman who is paralyzed. Now that sparks my interest. How do you identify as someone who is paralyzed? The woman part, transgender, fine. No issue there in the slightest. It's the identifying as someone who is paralyzed. That is interesting. It's interesting because then I had to go find your Twitter, where you indicated you were in a wheelchair because of a neurological condition called BID. BID is Body Integrity Identity Disorder. It's two eyes. It's a rare, infrequently studied and highly secretive condition in which there is a mismatch between the mental body image and the physical body. Subjects that suffer from BID have an intense desire to amputate a major limb or sever the spinal cord in order to become paralyzed. Now that's interesting because you identify as someone with the condition of BID. I guess the important question now is, has JVA actually severed the spinal cord to ensure that she remains within the wheelchair in such a way that she can never walk again? Or is this solely about how you identify? For obvious reasons, I have no sympathy for JVA. I have no sympathy for JVA because they're using a wheelchair that could be used for somebody who actually needs it. But also, you are already going through something that requires assistance, i.e. your transition, unless you've already completed it, in which case, achievement unlocked, go to next level. Compounding already one issue, gender dysphoria, with something like BID, comes across as somebody who is trying desperately to be the most marginalized person in society. The problem is, wider society, in virtually every country, is rolling their eyes at you because you are not a champion for what you think you stand for, the podium you speak from, the voice that you have because you can speak on these issues now, which you can't. So I won't deny when I saw this, I was intrigued. The majority of the articles covering this are all from Norway, therefore I'm not going to bother reading those. We're instead going to go to an article from Redux, Feminist News and Opinion. Wow. With the title of the article reading, Norwegian man now identifies as a disabled woman, uses wheelchair almost all the time. On October the 28th, Good Morning Norway aired an interview with JVA, a 53-year-old able-bodied male who now identifies as a disabled woman. In this interview, JVA stated that she had always wished that she had been born a woman who was paralyzed from the waist down. Is this like when we're kids and we wish we were fighting dragons? Or when another thought they were an astronaut? Is it like that? Is that what this is? I feel like I want to insert the "please Jimmy, can you fix it for me?" because I thought it would be a very funny joke, but then I remember he's a bad person. But it's the idea of asking someone to fix it for you. I guess the one detail that stands out and really has us a fair bit is in the next paragraph, where it is indicated that you didn't publicly announce your trans disability until 2020. In that same paragraph, it is also known that you received positive coverage in the media, which doesn't surprise me in the slightest. The article continues, despite having no physical handicaps, JVA currently utilizes a wheelchair almost all the time. In addition to gender dysphoria, JVA claims to have body integrity disorder, citing a dissonance between how she perceives herself and how her body functions. Being quoted as saying, "I have struggled with this every day my whole life. It's a cognitive dissonance in the same way that I experience being a woman in a man's body. I experience that I should have been paralyzed from the waist down. This is not a desire to be a burden on society. It's about the wheelchair being an aid for me to function in everyday life, both privately and at work." If you were born, or you grew up believing that you should be disabled, chances are you're an attention seeker. If that sounds really callous, take it as that, because that's what it is. A really big cry for attention. Look at me, woe be me, give me the glory that comes with this. If you grew up wanting to be that way and nobody dealt with it sooner, chances are you were enabled or abandoned. By all means, pick one or the other. There is still no sympathy from me here. Now, I do want to quickly point out what cognitive dissonance is for those who might not know. It is the discomfort a person feels when their behavior does not align with their values or beliefs. Problem in this instance is, your belief is that you should be in a wheelchair. It is a false equivalence to compare it to that of gender dysphoria, because they are not the same even remotely. You've tangibly connected them because of issues in the body, but that is not a connection that you want to be making. It is you saying, right, I've dealt with this one thing, and now I'm a woman. Great. Now I'm going to do this because there's not enough attention on me. When I've done this and achievement unlocked, I'll move to the next level as well. I'll find something else to be unique about. Criticism of JVA's identity has been so substantial that Norway's TV2 news program featured the perspectives of 4 disabled women in the days after the interview was broadcast on Good Morning Norway. And I'm glad they did, because there is an aspect of this that comes across as trivializing and tokenizing their own genuine struggles and disabilities for your own interpretation of what a disability is. Emma Sophie Grimstad was one of several women to hit back at JVA's disabled identity. Earlier this year, Grimstad spent 2 months in a wheelchair after she contracted Guillain-Barré syndrome, I believe that's how you pronounce it, an acute inflammatory disease which attacks the nerves and can cause paralysis. Grimstad criticized JVA, referring to her as a person with functional legs who chooses to sit in a wheelchair, and pointing out that there are many who don't have that choice. Being quoted as saying, "I don't think everything should get airtime. JVA's interview can harm people who are in wheelchairs and do not have a choice. It can even lead to suspicions about people who have no visible illnesses." Another woman whose concerns were highlighted in the TV2 report, Numi, let's assume that is it, has cerebral palsy, which means that she does not have full use of her left arm and foot. Quoted as saying, "This leads to the ridicule of those who face challenges related to their disabilities on a daily basis," adding that JVA's identity felt like an insult to the community. Chair for the Young People with Disabilities, Ingrid Thunum, said that she personally received several inquiries in response to JVA's interview and pointed out that many experience being accused of pretending they need assistance. Following these critical remarks, TV2 provided a definition of body integrity disorder. The statement itself sympathetically portrayed JVA as having a deep feeling that certain body parts or functions feel foreign or do not belong. Anyone else want to roll their eyes any further? It's not a surprise that a TV network would be more sympathetic towards the one that is marginalized, as opposed to those that actually have to go through conditions that bind them to a wheelchair, because one of them is a fraud. The others are coping with their situation as best they can, actually disabled and an actual moron. How quaint.